this Thursday edition of Sports Addict Live's Puck Across Borders, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. What's your sports card? You like hockey, you like basketball, football, baseball, maybe even wrestling. You can get it all right now at firstroundcollectibles.com. And with the promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever card your heart desires. That's right. All major sports plus wrestling. 10% off with the promo code Sports Addict. Firstroundcollectibles.com. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never.
And welcome the Thursday edition of Pucks Across Borders. Thank you so much for joining us on YouTube, Twitter, whether it's right now live or after the fact. Thank you so much for joining us. At the top of your screen, yours truly, Mark Sauter, with you. And beside me, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how are you today, man, on a Thursday? Congratulations on finally hitting a bet.
Yeah, I'm happy to get on the board for this week for best bets. It was, I don't want to say overdue, but I was starting to get nervous about my record for the week before last night. Luckily, Washington provided a bit of a layup.
That's the good thing about betting, man. When you're not feeling it, it doesn't mean that you should quit. It means that you're due. Just keep at it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And at the bottom of your screen, you read his work on Gridiron Heroics, Winners and Whiners. You see him on Total Apex Sports, talk about the NFL and the NBA, and of course, here with us, his favorite show. He'll never tell you that, but I'll tell you that. Pucks Across Borders. Andre, how are you, man?
Doing pretty well. I wish you guys would have stuck some sense into me yesterday and told me that Boston -1.5 was way too aggressive for a best bet. But it's too late. We move on.
Yeah, that's right. I was trying to go off the board because picking puck lines and money lines wasn't working for me, and I picked the Austin Matthews goal. And for 64 minutes, I was dead wrong until I wasn't, and woof, that felt good. All right, so moving on with today's show. Normally, if you've watched the show before, thank you for watching and for joining us again. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Typically what we do here is just some takeaways from the previous nights, some bad betting beats, because no matter how proficient of a gambler you are, we all got bad beats. It's just the nature of the game. And then we go into the games from tonight. But today we felt like it was important to address the 2018 World Junior Canada scandal that had some more information break yesterday. And yesterday there was a lot of different moving parts on the show. While we were doing prep, a lot of this news was breaking, and we felt it was irresponsible to talk about it without fully getting into it and knowing what we're talking about. So we decided today to just kind of talk about this for a little bit before getting into the rest of tonight's action. So first of all, I'll just throw this out there. Sportingnews.com had a terrific article about this. If you want to know more details, it's all right there. Really good work by them. This all stems from a 2018 alleged group sexual assault after a gala in June of 2018 celebrating the gold medal championship by the Canadian World Junior team. A woman sued Hockey Canada $3.5 million, and the case was settled with an undisclosed amount of money. The case was closed by police in February of 2019. However, in December 2022, London police reopened the case, saying they believed 5 players were directly involved. A side note to this is that no player from the 2018 team is eligible for IIHF events for the foreseeable future, at least till all of the dust settles in this lawsuit. The 5 players are anonymous, but the reason why this is all kind of coming to a head is London police announced yesterday that 5 players from the team have a deadline to surrender themselves to the London police, or else consequences will follow. And simultaneously with that, 5 players, 4 in the NHL, 1 from Switzerland, have been placed on indefinite leave from their team and are going home. And all 5 of these players are from this 2018 team. And so it's been crazy. Like, you guys down there can speak to the American press coverage of all this. Here, this was a really, really big story when it happened. When the news broke, Hockey Canada, the entire board, the CE, everybody has been replaced. It's a completely clean slate. Lots of other cover-ups of sexual assault dating back to the 80s are coming out. Like, this has been a huge stone turner. And like 7.5 million of reserved funds have been used on these cases over the course of the last 30 years. So the fact that this is all coming out now is important for many reasons. Number one, what is being alleged here is awful and it's evil and it needs to be resolved. Another reason is people have had so many questions for so long, and people are getting fired, but nobody's talking about it. Nobody's giving out names. Nobody's giving any concrete detail. Now, I understand that there's an investigation, and if there's an open investigation, probably not wise on some level to talk about this. At the same time, I think the NHL has been handling this very questionably, to say the least. The 5 players that were cut from the teams were all placed on indefinite leave. And I'll just say this: Dylan Dubé cut from the Calgary Flames. And again, we don't know this for sure. It seems pretty simple to put the pieces together. I found it very interesting that all 4 other players were on indefinite leave, but he was placed on leave for mental health. And if it turns out that he is involved in this, that's another bad look for the Calgary Flames, right? Right. So, and then the fact that exactly when the news was dropping, that's when the NHL decided to tell everybody that, oh, Utah wants to be a part of our league. I hope that this gets resolved soon. On top of it all, London police, and this is besides the NHL. I don't know if this has one thing to do with the other, but London police has announced that February the 5th, there is a press conference about this, which is 2 weeks away. And and again, I'm not a police officer. I'm not there. I talk about sports. Like, what do I know? But the fact that it's being pushed back, like still, like this has already been pushed back, 6 years, and the fact that it's being pushed back more, it just seems very sloppy, very messy, and really hopeful that a resolution comes to this soon. What do you guys got on this, John? I don't know if you want to start it off. Where does your mind go with this?
Sure. I feel like before I did think it was a good decision for us to wait until today to try to like catch back up on this story and read more about this. Because I'll be honest, I put it in the back of my mind until the last couple of days because of the new details emerging, because this took place so long ago. When it comes to something like this, it's very unfortunate, and if the allegations do end up being true, then justice does need to be served. With that said, I think more importantly than anything else, we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to get to the bottom of what happened, and the truth needs to prevail. Whether they're innocent or guilty, the truth needs to come out at the end of the day. As far as the NHL, at the very least, with the timing of the Utah announcement, I would agree that's the handling of some of the aspects of this are questionable, to say the least. As far as the case itself, I'm not going to pretend I know every single detail. I think things still have to come out there. I'm going to assume that some strong evidence came out recently to call these players back from the London, Ontario police, because I think you mentioned this already, but this is not the first time this case has been investigated. So
Yeah.
I have to assume some strong evidence came out recently that resulted in the London police calling these people back. As far as a media perspective goes, I try not to place a verdict on anybody. I do think it's fair to start connecting the dots with the London, Ontario announcement, with the 5 players from that team, being taken an indefinite lead. I don't believe that's a coincidence. I don't think anybody does that's paying attention, at the very least. But at the end of the day, I'm hoping at the very least that what comes out of this is the truth. Because right now we don't know for sure. We can't pretend like we were there to know all the details. But clearly the London police have some strong evidence that is linking these players back. But I just hope the truth comes out.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, to your point, this case was reopened December 2022. So, like, we're talking over like a year that they've reopened this case and been digging. And I know I mentioned earlier Dylan Dubé. He is listed as one of the people who have spoken to police. So I'm not like saying that mental health is not an issue or that he hasn't been cooperating, because by all accounts, all these guys have talked to police over the last couple of years. But clearly some new information has come out. Andre, where are you at with all this, man?
Yeah, I think with Dubé, regardless of guilt or innocence or whatever role he played a part in this or did not play a part in this, he was the captain of that team. I think it's valid that he could be in a bad spot mentally, regardless of anything, because he's supposed to be the leader. It's similar to Taze in Chicago just a few years ago, where he's going to get scrutinized regardless. He probably is taking it hard. He might not have been in a safe capacity for himself, I would say. So maybe he did legitimately get mental health help. because he was also the first indefinite leave of absence of the 5. So, and the Calgary Flames were the only team to cite a specific reason, at least among the NHL teams. I don't know what Formenton said. So who knows with that? The Formenton case too is also the most interesting because in Ottawa, he had his first full season. He had 18 goals, tied for the league lead in shorthanded goals with 5. Now, I know there's more to the hockey than goal scoring, but 20 goal scorers don't really grow on trees. So for them to just kind of ship him off to Switzerland and then no other team takes a bite on trying to, give him a shot, not even like a Sharks, that's a really bad look. That's pretty damning. I think it's worth noting that, again, they reopened this in December 22 after closing it in 2018. The victim filed a lawsuit in April of 2022 where she named 8 players. Only 5 came forward, or 5 are being asked to come forward. So I think for the 5 in particular that they've asked to come forward, whoever they may be, because none of the identities are confirmed yet, they must have something. And from what I've heard and read, she's willing to cooperate. So it's a lot. It's really a lot. And that's just off the ice. I mean, if you look at on the ice, the Flyers lost, who are in the playoff hunt, lost an elite goalie. The Devils lost their top face-off guy. Those are 2 teams in the Metro, let alone the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, I know it's more important than the 60 minutes in whatever arena, but this is going to affect a lot of things.
Yeah, and like it really does, and this is more just me just kind of thinking out loud here, like it really, and I don't think you can help it, whether it's this case or any other scandal in any other league, you really do wonder how much, like, who knew what and when. Like that whole thing you're talking about with like Ottawa, like you really do wonder. And like clearly these teams know now, but like these teams, like they're professional organizations, like they do background checks on everybody just like any other job would. Maybe not like McDonald's, but you know what I mean? Like they're like looking, like making sure that they're not going to look bad for any reason. We see people drop in the draft for off the field, off ice, off court issues all the time, right? Like this is not something new. So it really does lead me, and I think this is gonna take like a while before all of that kind of background information. I'm thankful that the police are having a statement. I do question why it's 2 weeks away. If but that being said, like I said, what do I know? That's just my opinion. But yeah, and I think from a Hockey Canada, sorry, Andre, you're going to say something.
No, I was going to say, I just remembered Carter Hart was on the block like all off season, and there wasn't a single team that really bit on a good young goalie. And I think it was the Canadians I saw recently again that said they weren't interested in trading for him, and the reason was a non-starter. Like it wasn't even worth opening conversation. So I think it was a pretty open secret in hockey circles.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that. I am also of the suspicion that the NHL was well aware of this for multiple years. I think the main damning thing with that was that the fact that there was a settlement a couple years prior. I don't buy for a second that the NHL didn't know about it before that happened. Yeah. That's me personally. I'm not accusing them of anything. That's just my opinion. But with this as well, like you guys said, with Hart and Formenton, I am gonna wonder what's gonna happen to these guys. And one thing I'm very curious about with this case, reading up on it, thanks to the article Mark talked about before from Sporting News. Like, I'm curious to know who John Doe 1 is in this story, because reading up some of the more recent details, it seems like whoever that person is the main culprit in this case, and the one probably that's going to get the hammer thrown at them legally the most of the bunch. So I don't know if we've had any inkling of who that might be of the five, but I'm curious to see what comes out there.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, yeah, speculation is speculation. I've been in hockey, dressing rooms, and I feel like certain people have louder voices. Um, it's difficult to say. I think that's the real, like, yeah, talking about the NHL, I'm sure that they knew. I would be shocked if they didn't. And I just, like, the fact is this: if you're not saying anything because it's an investigation, I can understand it. Like, that makes complete, not only does that make sense, that's also the law. So I can understand that. But that being said, like, you gotta say something. Like, you could, like, something has to be said here. Like hockey fans, sport fans are very smart, and everyone who is on Twitter, who's listening to the radio, who's listening to the NHL Network radio, watching NHL Network, whatever to do with the NHL, everyone who saw this news break and then saw that the NHL released a statement about Utah, everybody put this together. Like, everyone said, oh, what a coinky-dink that we're talking about this now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you didn't fool anybody. Like, everyone knew what was happening. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the part, like, where it's like, dude, like Bettman, my friend, you're very rich. I am not. However, like, do you think I'm stupid? Like, does that make me stupid? Like, do you think I'm dumb? Like, I don't know. It's frustrating. And I mean, don't forget, Gary Bettman is a lawyer by trade. Like, that's his deal. So he knows what he's doing in all of this. So anyway, it's frustrating, and really to add your sentiment, John, I really do hope that this comes to a resolution soon. And also, like, listen, like, what happened? Money doesn't solve these problems. This is something that the woman involved will be working through. I know these situations of affect many people, and it's an extremely difficult situation. But for her sake too, like, she doesn't want this dragging out through the news forever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's figure this out. It's enough. It's enough. With that, we do still have a show to carry on. And we will update whatever we can. Once again, if you haven't done your research on this situation before you form an opinion, I recommend you checking out the Sporting News article on sportingnews.com. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to dive into a busy night tonight in the NHL.
All I hear, go get the money, so I go get it. Hate means I do something right, so I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him, yeah, I'ma let him. I hit the nail on the head, yeah, I'ma let him. All I hear, go get the money, so I go get it. Hate means I do something right, so I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him, yeah, I'ma let him. I hit the nail on the head,
And we're back. diving into a busy night tonight in the NHL. 9 games on the slate. And we're starting in Detroit. Philadelphia Flyers in Detroit. Where am I here? Boom. Here we go. Try to gain my bearings here. The Detroit Red Wings home to the Philadelphia Flyers, minus 115 favorites at home. Flyers minus 105. This number was plus 105 earlier in the day. And earlier in the day, I was like, I might take it. I don't know. And now seeing minus 105, I kind of wish I took it, but I still don't know where I feel. We'll talk it out. We'll figure it out. The over is 6.5 at minus 105. The under is minus 115. Flyers on the puck line plus 1.5 is minus 258. Stupid plus 1.5 odds. Shouldn't even be there. Minus 1.5 for Detroit is plus 210. John, we'll start with you, my friend. How do you feel about this game?
Well, this one I'm gonna relate to Tuesday night's game for Philadelphia, where I'll just say it, they didn't look good that night against Tampa Bay, losing at home. And I hate to continue a discussion from above, but I feel like the Flyers are not in the right place right now. They're probably way too distracted from what's going on off the ice, and I think that's going to impact them tonight until things settle down a bit more. So I think for that reason alone, I'm going with Detroit. I don't think their heads are fully in the game for legitimate reasons, obviously. But I'm probably going to have this sentiment about my own team later as well. But the Flyers are right in the middle of this. I don't think this is the right time for them to pick them betting wise. So I'm going with Detroit.
What about you, Andre? What do you see here?
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that a team, which is still top 10 in goals against average this season, has allowed 18 goals in their last 3 games, coinciding with one of their top goalie going on indefinite leave of absence. And that's all after the Cutter Gauthier drama, where you don't want us, we don't want you. So it's a mess on Broad Street right now. It really is. That being said, they are a better team on the road this season. This might be a good spot for them. You know, they've been home the previous 4 games. Philly's a little bit louder than Detroit, especially with the Lions in the NFC Championship right now. I think the Flyers might actually win this one. Detroit kind of lost it on Tuesday against the Stars. They gave up 4 straight in the second period when they were up 2-1 after the first. Their goaltending has been an issue all season. The Flyers have one of the best PKs in the league, so they can shut down that power play. The Flyers, for most of the season, were good defensively, so they can slow down this offense. I think getting away from home will be good for them. So I actually like the Flyers money line here in a low-scoring game.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with a side. I love the over. I think the over is a really good play here. The 3-game losing streak for the Flyers, they have lost 6-3, 5-3, 7-4. So like you said, Andre, the goaltending, they're letting in a lot of goals. Defense is getting a little bit sloppy, but they've been scoring a lot of goals too. In the last 5 games, they have scored 19 goals themselves. So that being said, you have Detroit 8-4 in the last 12. 10 in the last 10 games, they have allowed 4 goals or more only twice, which for them, that was a big problem for a lot of the season. Alex Lyon's been playing very, very well for them since the turn of the calendar year. That being said, I do like the over here as my best bet over 6.5 at minus 105. If I had to choose a side, I do think I would pick Detroit just because, like, leave all the other stuff aside. I just think Detroit's playing better hockey right now. And I think that the amount of goals that the Flyers are letting in right now is just concerning. I've talked up this Philadelphia team a lot, and I love what Torts is doing, and I love this team, and I think they'll be fine. I just think tonight's a bit of a tough spot, and I think Detroit comes through with the win. But make no mistake, my favorite bet on this one is the over. Moving to Detroit in a highly anticipated matchup, very, very highly anticipated. Patrick Waugh back in Montreal coaching the New York Islanders. And I think I know Montreal hasn't been playing well lately. We're hanging around that playoff race for as long as they could, but they're kind of coming back down to earth. But minus 148 on the road for the Islanders seems a little bit much to me. Plus 124 Montreal is underdogs at home. Minus 1.5 for the Islanders is plus 164. Plus 1.5 is minus 198. The over is 6 at minus 125. And the under is plus 105. Andre, what do you see here, bro?
Yeah. The Islanders lost their last game. They needed a comeback in overtime to win Patrick Waugh's first game behind the bench. Not really playing well lately. But Vegas and Dallas are much tougher than Montreal. I understand. And Montreal's just been getting whooped lately. 3-goal loss to Ottawa, 5-goal loss to Boston, 4-goal loss to Ottawa. I think this is a really good spot for the Islanders, as much as it pains me to say it. So short and sweet. Give me the Islanders minus 1.5. They finally have an easier game with their new head coach, and I think they capitalize on it. I just don't like the way Montreal's playing at all right now.
Yeah, it's tough to argue with that, man. Like the Islanders 3-8 their last 11, Montreal's 3-7 in their last 10. Currently on a 3-game losing streak, and like you said it, man, they're getting whipped in those 3 games that they have lost in a row. They have allowed 19 goals, which I can't do quick math, but I just already know it's not good. Like not good. So yeah, awful. I will say though, and this is pure just like environment based. I know that Montreal hasn't been terrific at home this year. The Bell Center is going to be insane tonight for Patrick Waugh. I was listening to the radio this morning. They were talking about how there are reporters from all over Quebec at this game. There have been reporters all over Quebec at the Islanders' last few games. This is a huge story down there right now. He is absolutely royalty, and it is going to be insane. He's going to get this huge standing ovation. He is going to get praised tonight. I don't know if they'll do a whole like video montage, but they'll show him on the Jumbotron, and everyone's going to lose their minds. The last goaltender to win a Stanley Cup in my great nation was Patrick Waugh. So this is a really, really big deal. I feel like that might feed into Montreal tonight. I feel like they might buy into the hype. It might get them going. You would think it would go the other way around for the Islanders, but I don't know. I have this gut feeling. I can't argue the Islanders should win this game by 2 or more goals, but I just feel like this is going to do something for Montreal, and I think they're going to come away with the upset, and I'll take Montreal on the money line. I also think that both these teams have not been stopping the puck very well. The Islanders have been better lately, but I think I like the over 6. Worst case is 4-2, get your money back. But I don't see it being under 6 tonight. John, what do you see here?
I think given the atmosphere expected in tonight's game, it makes me tough makes it tough for me to go with an Islanders puck line here. I feel like atmosphere is going to play a part in this game. With that said, I don't really trust either of these two teams enough to pick a side anyway, and the Islanders money line is a little high for my liking. So what I'm going to do instead is go with the total here. I like the over in this game, over 6.5. Two main reasons for this. The first is that both teams are in the bottom 10 in the league in goals allowed. Montreal's particularly bad. And secondly, I expect special teams. I expect the power play to be a big factor in tonight's game because let's face it, both of these teams are horrible at the penalty kill. They're both bottom 5 in the NHL, both under 74% for the year. I expect a power play goal or two in tonight's game. I think for that reason, it made me go over the edge with the over in tonight's game. Given the atmosphere, I think it's tough to predict a side in this one because I do think the Islanders are the better team, but Montreal's going to have a nice home ice advantage, I would say. Devil's advocate, I would argue Raw would also want to beat Montreal for that reason. So I think I'm going to steer clear of that and stick with the over.
Yeah, I was hearing today Montreal beat writer basically saying that this game, this is more that Montreal fans have cared about a Montreal Canadiens game in months. So that, like, I heard that and I was like, that's actually fascinating because they know, they're smart. They know this year, like, even if they somehow made it to the playoffs, nothing's happening. They're preparing for the future still, right? So he literally said in a nice thick French accent that I'm not going to try to replicate, said, this is the most that Montreal fans have cared about this team in months. All right, moving across the river to Ottawa, Ontario, hosting the Boston Bruins. Ottawa at home plus 114, Boston minus 135, minus 1.5 for the Bruins, plus 170, plus 1.5 for Ottawa is minus 205. The over is 6.5 at minus 108, and the under is minus 612. Boston Bruins 5-1 in their last 6 games, 6-4. 6-4 over the last 10. They did only score 2 goals last night, but in the 5 games before that, they scored 25 goals. 25 goals. If you take out, so they're scoring a lot right now. We saw them put 4 up on Winnipeg, something that no one has done since the beginning of the year. Ottawa, on the other hand, 4-2 in their last 6. They've also scored 25 goals in their last 5 games. They're scoring a lot right now, too. They're not necessarily keeping the puck out of their net, but they're scoring a lot of goals right now. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I can tell you, being up here, Ottawa does this every year where the expectations are high and then they suck. They suck. They're awful. And then they suck you right back in and they just like beat everybody and they're awesome. Oh, this is next year. Next year's the year. And I feel like we're starting to see that a little bit. That being said, so you'll probably hear me take Ottawa more over the next few months to finish out the season. That being said, Boston, yes, they're coming off a back-to-back. That was a heartbreaker last night. They give up that 3rd goal with, like, what was it, like 5 minutes left, maybe less than that, giving up a late penalty. I think Boston's mad. I think Boston's going to figure out to win this game. Ottawa has been scoring a lot lately. Can Boston keep up? That's going to be interesting to see. And can Boston's goaltending come back to what we know? We'll see. I do like Boston tonight on the money line. I got a couple hours left to think about it. I do like the puck line. just because Ottawa is going to be winning this game 4-3 in the third period, and they're going to lose 6-4. I just feel that way. And with that opinion, I'm also going to take the over. I don't see how this game ends with less than 6.5 goals. Andre, going to you, man. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, when I first saw this game, I was kind of up on Ottawa. I was like, they're home, second half of a back-to-back from Boston. They had to, fly up across the border, all that jazz. And the Senators can score. That's not the issue with this team. But I don't think plus 114 is rich enough to buy me in Ottawa. So I'm going to have to roll with the much better team here. Because even though Ullmark started yesterday, that just means Swayman's in net tonight. The luxury of having two great goalies, the offense can light the lamp. They, like you said, they were doing just fine before they ran into the Hurricanes. Defense is fine. Special teams is fine. I know it's consecutive nights playing, but this Bruins team is way better. And more importantly, they know how to hold on to a lead. So I'm going to take the Bruins 60-minute line, even in the second half of back-to-back. It's at plus 110 right now. I trust Boston to come away with 2 points.
I like that. I think you're talking me into that one. John, what do you see here, bro?
I'm seeing my upset of the night. I think for the first time ever in a spot like this, I'm taking the Ottawa Senators.
Okay.
I have to say, guys, like looking at this line made me immediately want to jump on Ottawa because I don't think Ottawa should be this close to Boston in the money line. Like normally with this type of separation gap, I would expect Boston to be a 150 favorite, even on the road. I think this is a little bit low. And I don't know. Like I think it's just telling. That's what I would say. So it made me curious as to why Ottawa might be near even for a money line bet. But I think Mark brought it up. Like Ottawa's been scoring goals. Like the last 5 or 6 games, they average 4 or 5 goals each game. Outside of one random night against the Jets where they lost 2-1, they've put up 4 or 5 goals consistently in this stretch. I don't think that's the problem. And like Boston's playing a back-to-back now, tough loss last night on top of that, where they struggled to score in that one. I do think they'll score more tonight, given who they're playing. But I'm of the belief Ottawa can outscore them. I really do, even with the goaltender talent that Boston has. I just don't like this. I just don't like Boston having to come right back out and play a team that's scoring a lot lately. I think this is gettable. I'm taking Ottawa tonight.
Moving down to Florida, where Arizona continues their Florida swing. Tough game for the Coyotes last night. That game was over before it even started. I love the fisticuffs. That's some old school hockey right off the bat. You did something that I didn't like 2 months ago, and we're going to deal with it right now. I don't remember how long it was for real, but I absolutely love it. And then playing, what was the music? Did you guys see what music they played?
I wasn't paying attention to that part.
They played some like fight theme, some theme song in the like while they're fighting. I can't remember. It was really funny though. I absolutely loved it. Great theater. And you knew that was coming. Arizona Coyotes in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is minus 218 favorites. Plus 180 are the Coyotes on the road. Plus 1.5 is minus 130 for the Coyotes, while the Lightning are minus 1.5 at plus 110. The over is 6.5 at minus 105, and the under is minus 115. John, we'll start with you, man. What do you see here?
I'm seeing this as a good spot to take a Tampa Bay puck line. I don't really like this matchup at all for Arizona. I like the way Tampa's playing. I think their upside to scoring is a lot higher than Arizona's personally. Tampa Bay is the top power play in the NHL, and normally I consider that a strength for Arizona, but I think they're just outclassed in this department. I just think scoring-wise, Tampa Bay is just so much better. They average 3.38 goals a game. Arizona doesn't even average 3 goals a game. I know their goaltending is definitely better than Tampa, and Tampa's defense has been questionable this year, but I just don't see this Arizona team keeping up with Tampa's style of play, so I'd be comfortable taking the puck line here.
What about you, Andre? What do you see here?
Well, first of all, to answer your question, the first fight they played John Cena's theme song, and then the second they played Stone Cold's. I just kind of multitasked and figured it out.
So good. That's so good. I love it.
WWE with it. Yeah.
That's so
I
fun.
guess it was WWF. You're talking Stone Cold, but
You can get those products on collectibles.com. Sports out. Promo code 10% off. Continue, Andre.
love the read, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm going to say the same thing about this game that I said about the Minnesota Wild when they went to Tampa. I want to say last week. Getting back on track in Tampa is not an easy task. Playing the second half of a back-to-back on Tampa is not an easy task. The Lightning are electric in Amali, pun fully intended there.
Yeah.
This team can light the lamp with the best of them, and Arizona's not going to have their best active. So I think this might be my favorite bet of the day. I'm going to take the Lightning -1.5. I know Ingram's starting, but I think the guys in front of him are going to be tired. They're going to have some issues stopping the Tampa offense all night long.
So, Arizona 6-7 since Christmas. Tampa Bay 8-3 last 11 games. Tampa Bay 7 games of those 11 they allowed 3 goals or less. All signs are pointing to Tampa Bay. I genuinely think that the Arizona Coyotes can win this hockey game. And I might be speaking more with my heart lately about this team because they're becoming one of my favorite teams. I love watching this team. I do think not only are they playing on a back-to-back, but that game last night was insane. like 19 fights and like just brutal hockey game. Fights off the bat. Even at the end, there was a bit of shenanigans, so to speak. They didn't have a hope in that game. Florida dominated that game from front to back, and I do worry that just the exhaustion of that game, just from like the fighting and the brutality of the game as a whole, I do worry about that. That being said, this is an NHL hockey team that has playoff aspirations, and they got embarrassed last night, like absolutely embarrassed. And I know Tampa Bay is playing some of the best hockey of their season. Kucherov is averaging 31 points per game right now. I fully understand that what I'm saying is not the most likely. That's why they're plus 180 dogs in the game. When the Coyotes win, they almost always score 3+ goals. Some of the goals totals in their last handful of games: 5 goals, 3 goals, 6 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, 5 goals, 4 goals. I think this is a game with Ingram in net. I think Tampa Bay can the Coyotes can squeeze this game out. And you picked Ottawa as your favorite underdog of the night. I picked the Arizona Coyotes as my favorite upset of the night. I don't know. I believe in this team. And if they win this game, I am betting them to make the playoffs as soon as the game is over.
Love that for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Feels good. Yeah. So I think if they can win a game like this after last night, I think that's a real hockey team. And
I'll give them tremendous props if they pull that off.
You know what? If they win tonight, I think they win the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. I think they go back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. That's what I think. Speaking of Actually, who am I kidding? Can't speak about Stanley Cup champions here.
No.
We are going to
Maybe for the opponent.
we are going to Carolina, where the New Jersey Devils plus 136 on the road, minus 162 are the Hurricanes, plus 1.5 for the Devils is minus 175. Minus 1.5 for the Hurricanes is plus 146. The over is 6.5 at minus 105, and the under is minus 115. As always, when we talk about our teams, John, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this game?
Guys, I have to be honest, it's hard to ignore the 800-pound elephant in the room. The fact that our leading segment today centers around two Devils players, and both of them are on indefinite leave. One of them in particular, Michael McLeod, is a huge loss on the ice because I looked this up, out of any guy who's taken more than 100 faceoffs this year, McLeod has the best percentage in the NHL for faceoff wins. So I can't emphasize the loss there. It really helps get the Devils going. I think it's going to be a massive adjustment not having him for those type of situations. It's an underrated loss for sure, and I think it's going to shake up the team. Yes, they've had a couple days since this happened, since I think it was Wednesday morning that they announced the leave. But I personally think the Canes are a bad matchup for the Devils anyway when they're fully healthy. But McLeod's out now. Jack Hughes, I believe, is still out. So it's not, the Devils don't really have their pieces right now. And I think mentally they're not fully invested in this game. I wouldn't expect them to be, at least. I really hate this spot for the Devils, even if they were at full strength. But adding the 800-pound elephant in the room in the mix, I would take the Canes puck line. I really would. I just do not think this is a good spot for the Devils at all.
Yeah, I find it hard to disagree. I think, everything that you said about the players missing and even Jack Hughes being injured, all that is extremely valid. I also think right now Carolina 9-3 in the last 12, and they're averaging 4 goals a game in that stretch. And we know the struggles that the Devils have had with keeping the puck out of their net and the lack of cohesion defensively. I do think, in a general sense, and again, this is before losing those two players and Jack Hughes as well. Well, they didn't have Jack Hughes for some of this. They're 8-6 in their last 14, which is not terrific, but they haven't completely fallen off the face of the earth. This team can still score. And I kind of found myself talking myself into the Devils this morning, not for this game, but just overall. Something does tell me, I like to goof on you, John, but something does tell me that they are going to figure this out. I just don't think that happens tonight. I do think that the Devils give up, they can score goals. I know you're not getting great odds, but the 60-minute line at minus 125 for the Hurricanes, I think I like that a little bit better than the minus 1.5. That game against Boston was no joke last night. It is a back-to-back. And I know that they're home, but they're traveling from Boston. I believe it was in Boston last night. So I like the Carolina Hurricanes minus 125, 60 minutes. Once again, I don't love those odds, but I trust it a bit more than the puck line. Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here?
I'm with you on the 60-minute line. I was going back and forth between 60-minute line and puck line. I think I trust the 60-minute line a little bit more. And John, you said this is a bad spot for the Devils. You said you already think this was without all the guys missing. I think this actually is a would be a good spot for the Devils if they had everybody. I feel like Jersey's a lot better on the road, or at least more trustworthy. The Canes obviously played in Boston last night, so had to take that trip back home. And I feel like they can score and put pressure on Carolina. You don't want Carolina playing from ahead. You want them playing from behind. I think with their speed, they can strike first. But Jersey's just so shorthanded. So
Yeah.
you just got to roll with the Canes here, even second half of the back-to-back to take this one.
Non-NHL breaking news. The Bill Belichick in Atlanta dream has died. And Raheem Morris is the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. It's over. I never thought it was happening anyway. Maybe you guys did, but it's over.
We've talked about it. I didn't really think that was a good fit for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dome. What's he supposed to wear in the winter? He can't, he's got to look disheveled and angry with a robber's mask and weird sweaters, and it's just not him. Moving to Texas. Maybe Dallas should have hired Bill Belichick. All right. Dallas. Sorry, boys. Lost my place here. Where are we? Dallas minus 345. Favorites at home. This is where we start getting a couple wonky money lines here. Plus 275 for the Ducks on the road. Minus 1.5 is minus 130 for the Stars. Plus 1.5 for the Ducks is plus 110. The over is 6.5. And the under is minus 108. Andre, where are you at with this game, bro?
I'm not. I know the Ducks made us all look stupid on Tuesday, but I'm not buying it.
No.
Yeah, I'm just not. The 3 games before that, they lost by multiple goals. One was in San Jose, the other was in DC. Their 4 games before that, they were 2-2, 4-goal loss in Tampa, 3-goal loss in Carolina. Squeaked one out against the Panthers was really the highlight there in overtime. I feel like I've said this so many times now. I feel like the Ducks are playing better, but then I also always look up and they're losing by multiple goals. Dallas is a really good team. Dallas is, and I wouldn't go as far as Tortorella did in saying they're the best team in the league, or whoever it was that said that. But
yeah, Torts. Yeah.
The Stars are a very good team. They're a very complete team. Ottinger's back, which is going to stabilize the defense and goaltending a little bit, the puck or the goal prevention, if you will. So I like them minus 1.5, even though it's only minus 130. I think that's fine odds for this game, honestly. And I'm going to go with the under here too, because I'm not really trusting Anaheim to score that much. Dallas
what about
really
you,
good
John? Oh, sorry, Andre, go ahead.
No, I just said Dallas is really good at home.
Yeah, 100%. John, where are you at, bro? Do you agree?
Like you guys, I was a little bit surprised by Tuesday's result for the Ducks. I didn't really expect them to beat the Sabres handily. If you guys listened to Tuesday's show, I think most of us were on the Sabres puck line for that one. At least I was. Yeah. So
money line for sure. Yeah.
The Ducks definitely threw a wrench earlier in this week for me. Given this though, I think this money line is hard to ignore. Even the puck line is minus 125. And I do genuinely believe the Ducks are one of the worst teams in the NHL. So I think the sports books, I have to think they're expecting a beatdown or for the Ducks to get back down to earth tonight. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Stars puck line. I don't really see much reason not to. I mean, the Stars are a much better scoring team just to start there. Like, we're talking about top 5 team versus bottom 5 team, I want to say. So, yeah, I think I agree with you guys. Stars puck line seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, I'll keep this short. We all know where the Ducks are at. I believe I shared this stat on our last show when we talked about the Stars, whenever that was, or maybe last week. I know it was recently. Regardless, Dallas Stars, when they win, they almost always score 4 goals or more. They have 28 wins on the year. 22 of those wins are with 4 goals or more. And if that trend continues, because I do think that they will win tonight, then they're going to outscore the Ducks by at least 2 goals. So give me the puck line too. This team, when they win, they score a ton. And I don't see the Ducks keeping up with them. Yeah, Stars. I'm with you guys. -1.5 at -130. Moving on to Minnesota. And don't look now. I feel like we were talking about the Wild being way out of the wild card race. Pun intended as well, Andre.
There you go.
47 points right now, this Minnesota Wild team. And I like this team. The injuries were really hard to swallow. The beginning of the year was really tough. Really good middle stretch there. -118 at home. Nashville's -102. Predators are +1.5 at -250. Wild -1.5 +205. The over is 6 at -105. The under is -115. Nashville 1-3 their last 4, 3-3 their last 6. I really liked Nashville. I just think they're middle of the road. They're mediocre at best right now. They've scored 6 goals in their last 3 games, not scoring a ton of goals. Minnesota 4-1 in their last 5, 24 goals in that 5-game stretch. They've allowed 16 goals in that stretch. However, 7 of them were against the Lightning. Side note, Eriksson Ek, 5 goals, 5 assists in his last 5 games. Kaprizov is back, and he's scored 5 goals in his last 3 games. So you can hit me up for some of those goal scoring props. I'm picking Minnesota. Money line, I kind of want to dabble with that +205 in the puck line, but I don't need it. I'll just keep the -118 Minnesota Wild win tonight. Andre, where are you at?
I think we're on the same page here. Since that Panthers game, they've been on fire. They've been scoring like crazy. Their guys are back, obviously. The goaltending stabilized a little bit after that. They gave up 7 against Tampa, but before that, they had a shutout. Their last 2 games, held Carolina 2, held the Capitals to 3. I guess it's not really that noteworthy, but they're playing well, and they're at home. They're healthy, and they're trying to get back the points that they lost because of the infirmary. So I really like them here against a Nashville team that's just meh. It's just a good old-fashioned mediocre team.
Yeah.
I don't hate Nashville or anything, but just that's what they are. And I think the Wild are trending up. Nashville is doing what mediocre teams do, and that's being malleable. And the Wild are going to take advantage of that and win a high-scoring game. So over 6, Wild win.
Ooh, I think I like that over too. John, what are you saying here, bro?
I'm going to make it a clean sweep for the Wilds. I like them in this spot as well. Just in the last 3 games the Wild are playing makes me really want to pick them, because not only have they won all 3 of those games, they've scored 16 goals in that 3-game stretch. So my opinion, this is the best the Wild have looked all year. I do think getting healthy really has benefited them clearly in this stretch. Like Andre said, the Florida game seemed to light a spark for them. I don't think Nashville's playing great right now either. And like you guys said, Nashville's not a bad team or anything, but they're not a great team. They're definitely vulnerable. They're definitely vulnerable for a team that has upward momentum like the Wild right now. I just think they're catching the Wild at the wrong time, to put it simply. So I'm going to ride the wave and pick Minnesota here.
2 games left. We'll move quickly
Save the best for last. I see what you're doing.
That's right. That's right. Actually, you know what? Let's save the best for last. We're gonna talk about Chicago. Oh, we're gonna go last. But wait, you think this is the best for last?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this has to be.
All right, I changed my mind. Calgary is home. Minus 192. Plus 160 on the road is Columbus. Plus 1.5 for the Blue Jackets is minus 142. Minus 1.5 is plus 120 for the Flames. Over 6.5, minus 112. The under is minus 108. John, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this game?
A game I really don't want to pick because I swear this is one of those games where you get definitely one really bad team and one, I would say, below average team with Calgary. Calgary tends to be the team I would trust more in situations like this. But I mean, minus 192 money line, that seems like a bit of a stretch considering how Calgary has played this year. The puck line is plus 120, so that could be tempting. I've been debating this honestly. I think this is one of the tougher games for me to pick on the board here. Nothing is really jumping out at me about Calgary that makes me really want to back them. I feel like this line is a little bit overvalued. I feel like this is such a bait trap, to be honest, because Columbus is really bad with like goaltending this year. Calgary is like middle of the pack. Columbus allowed the second most goals per game in the NHL, but for some reason they're very inconsistent. But once in a while they have a really good game. I feel like tonight could be one of those nights. I wouldn't put this on my personal bet slip at all, but if you're telling me to pick something, maybe Columbus puck line. I don't know. Actually, I don't even like that much. Actually, I'm changing my bet. Actually, I'm changing it. I'm going to the. I saw an opening. Okay, looking closer at something, I kind of want to pick the over, mainly because I mentioned Columbus is really bad at keeping pucks out of the net, and I feel like tonight could be one of those nights where they're strangely competitive. So maybe take a shot in the dark at over 6.5. I completely pivoted my bet, but I saw something live.
Hey,
I
man,
like
you're
better.
thinking, yeah, you're thinking on the fly, working through it. It's okay, man. This is your therapy, talk
This
it
is a
out.
really tough game to pick.
Yeah, you'll get to where you want to go. Very simple. For me, I like Calgary here. They had a 4-game winning streak. Now they're on a 3-game losing streak. Since December 11th, they have played 20 games. 16 of those games, they have scored 3 or more goals. And I believe 9 of those games, they scored 4 or more goals. They've been scoring a lot over the last month, which is not something that they did before. I don't like minus 192 clearly. I don't like the 60-minute line because Calgary loves overtime. They love it. It's their favorite thing in the whole world. And I don't like minus 1.5 for that same reason. Betting the Flames for me is betting the over 6.5. I feel like I'm taking the Flames, just not in the same way. I think they do win. I can see this game being 5-2. 5-3, maybe even 6-3, 6-4. It could get crazy out there in Cowboy country. Maybe 6-5. I don't know. Columbus loves those 6-5 games. I do think Calgary wins, but none of their odds are appealing to me. So I'll take the over 6.5 at minus 112. Andre saved the biggest Calgary fan for last.
Yeah, normally blue is near and dear to my heart, Columbus, but Calgary's right there as well. Got to roll with the Flames minus 1.5 here. And if only because Columbus recently got one of their random wins. They beat Vancouver 4-3. So I think they're due for another loss or two before they, put up a real fight and scare us into never betting them again. The 2 games before and after the Vancouver win, they lost by at least 3 goals. Obviously, Winnipeg beat them 5-0. The other teams beat them by 3. So I do like the Calgary puck line here. I'm not afraid of the -1.5. The over, fully agree with both of you. Calgary allowed 4 against the Blues, allowed 4 against the Leafs. In between that, their best performance, they allowed 3 against the Oilers. Columbus, we don't really need to talk about them. We're very familiar with their game when it comes to stopping the puck. So I fully agree with the over. I think that's by far the best play from this game. But, let's keep our love hot here. Let's get Calgary some puck line love. Come on, guys. Come on.
One of us had to do it. It might as well have been you. I don't think in the NHL I have ever seen a puck line this high. I don't think. I've been gambling longer than my wife wants me to admit to the whole world live on YouTube. But I don't think I've ever seen a hockey team with this high of a money line. -625. And it was in the 40s like an hour or two ago, I believe. So it's actually gone down. Plus, and is it still the same? Yeah, it is the same. Plus 455 of the Blackhawks, -625 of the Oilers. -2.5 for the Oilers is -120. Plus 2.5 for the Blackhawks is plus 100. The over is 6.5 at -112. The under is 6.5 at -108. Andre, we'll start with you, man. Last game of the night. What in the world are you going to bet here, man?
I'm going to base my bet entirely on what John picks for the side here. But the Oilers are
fade them.
Yeah, fully doing the opposite, especially if it's a puck line pick.
Yeah, of course.
No.
Oh, of course.
The Oilers are 4 wins away from setting the record for most consecutive wins by a team.
Yep.
We talked about their schedule coming up. Nashville is their last game before the break. After that, they have Vegas, who's struggling, Anaheim, and then they're in LA. 4 winnable games, very much so. Chicago played yesterday. Chicago is one of the worst teams in the NHL. And I told you guys I was going to do this Tuesday, but I love chaos. And nothing's more chaotic than the Blackhawks ending the streak because absolutely no way it should happen. There's no way the Blackhawks should win this game. Everyone's going to be fading them. That's exactly why they're the ones that stop that streak. Give me the Blackhawks money line.
Ooh.
I don't need you.
I love it. I absolutely love it. John, what are you going to do? And how many goals are you adjusting this puck line to?
Actually, I'm probably going to force Andre to pivot because I'm picking the Blackhawks money line too.
Oh,
I really want to end the streak.
That's here. Okay. As long as it's not a puck line, we're fine.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've been of the belief the last couple of games the Oilers are due to lose one eventually. I don't think they're going to break the record. I thought the Flames were going to do it. I didn't think Columbus was in the best spot to end the streak, but I did think they'd keep it closer than they did. The Blackhawks have been a team that likes chaos for like a month or two now. Yeah. I don't know what it is about this team. And like I've been hating it for like a month. So I feel like I need to just accept it and fully embrace it at this point. Because like you said, this is probably the biggest money line we have seen at minimum this season. I don't know if there has been a bigger one. Statistically, I can't show you a good argument for the Blackhawks winning this game. The Oilers on paper are a better team for sure. But I don't know, man. The Blackhawks just really like to play spoiler. This is probably the worst team on the Oilers schedule. And you said they're 4 games away from winning or breaking the record or something like that. Or
yeah.
5.
If I remember right, they have 14 in a row. I think the record was 17.
Well, the next 2 opponents after that are Nashville and then at Vegas. I could see I could see them overlooking the Blackhawks. I don't know. It just seems like a spot. Blackhawks have been so chaotic this year. I'm not going to be shocked. I'm really not. Oilers are due to lose one, and at the end of the day, they're still playing a professional team on the other end.
Well, questionable. I don't
Yeah, sure.
feel like it's like, I mean, they're professionals, but they're like AHL hockey players. What did we say they were from? Like Rockford something? I can't remember what we said.
The
Oh,
Iron
my
Sharks or whatever.
Yeah. But listen. The last time the Blackhawks played Edmonton, they held the Oilers to 15 shots. The Blackhawks love keeping games like this close. They're 3-7 in their last 10, but only 2 of those games they allowed more than 4 goals. That's something. That's some positive feedback for the Blackhawks. Oilers 15 straight. They are going for 15 straight. Their last 8 games, though, all games 4 or less goals. 3 of those with 4 goals. I like the under here as my favorite bet of the night. I think the under is a really good play. Mrazek's been playing really well. Minus 112. Minus 108. Under 6.5. Stuart Skinner's been playing really well. Mrazek has been playing well. I really like the under here. And screw it. I'll take Chicago too. Why not?
There we go.
Why not? We'll do the clean. One of us had to be rational and pick an actual like.
We're not picking minus 6.
What do you mean be rational? This is my lock of the day.
Wow. I hope it is. We're gonna find out in just a minute.
I can't even call this a double down. This is like a quadruple down.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, man. If you have $10 left, or not left, but $10 in your bankroll that you're willing to spend, you might as well hammer these. Because eventually, like, you know what I mean? Or if you have rent that's due next week on the 1st and you only have half, you put that half on plus 455 and you have rent for 2 months.
We need a disclaimer on this.
Yeah, that's true.
We need a disclaimer for legal reasons here.
Speaking of which, I almost said a bad word. The best bets, the best responsible bets on Sports Addict Live, brought to you as always by First Round Collectibles. Promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. That's the number 1 STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. John, we'll start with you. What is your best bet of the night?
Well, as much as I would love to make it the Blackhawks and, you just go all in, I'm going to let Andre have that one and try to be – I'm going to try to do something a little bit easier here. Honestly, I kind of like the Minnesota matchup tonight for Nashville. Like I said before, they're during this 3-game winning streak. They're playing great hockey at the moment. In those 3 wins, they've scored 16 goals. Nashville, I don't think, is playing their best hockey at the moment, and I think they're a middle-of-the-pack team that is vulnerable to a team on a hot streak like the Wild. So I think I would take them as my best bet tonight.
Love it. Andre, what about you, man? What's your best bet of the night? And is it really Chicago?
I mean, like low-key it is, but I'm going to be responsible here. And I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning minus 1.5.
Kill me.
I'm so sorry. Hey, I let you have the Flyers the other day when I wanted to.
I wasn't going to take the Coyotes as a best bet, but I already have money on the Coyotes. So if I have to, if I bet this parlay, I'm going to have to hedge it. But that's okay. Maybe that's better that way.
There's nothing wrong with a little hedge. especially
No.
not when you get plus 110 on the Lightning,
That's right.
winning by multiple goals. Arizona played yesterday in Sunrise, got demolished. Tampa is a better team than the Panthers when it comes to playing on home ice, not just in general, only at home ice. It's a tougher place to play. Lightning are playing well as is right now. Crazy offense that can score on anyone. I like them to win this one by multiple goals.
Love it. Yeah, I'm looking at the rest of these games, and there really are like oh man.
I can make mine the Blackhawks still.
No. Go no, you're fine. You're fine.
Imagine what that parlay would be.
I'm flip-flopping back right now between two bets that I really like. All right. It's not plus money, but I still really like it. Dallas Stars -1.5. I think that, yeah, I mean, we talked about it. This team, when they win, they score in bunches, and I think they win tonight. They had a bit of a blip up there, but they've been playing good hockey, and we know what the Ducks are all about. Dallas Stars -1.5 at -130. Not the juicy plus odds that we like to go for in these bets, but I just think that's a good safe bet. The other honorable mention, the one that I was bouncing back and forth between, I really like Pasternak to score tonight. I believe it's -110. For him to score against Ottawa, a team that gives up a lot of goals, I really like Pasternak at -110 as well. But make my best bet, Dallas Stars -1.5.
Cool. We got John on the Minnesota Wild -118. We got me on the Tampa Bay Lightning +110. We got Mark on the Dallas Stars -130. It's a +586 parlay tonight, gentlemen.
That's low for us.
Nothing wrong
There
with
we
that.
go.
No, nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that, man.
We played conservative so that we can bet it all on the Blackhawks.
There we go.
And
So I picked some early games.
Don't put the rent money on it though, guys.
hey, don't tell them what to do. They'll make their own. They'll make their own decisions. They're adults. I hope they're adults. You should be adults. If you
Legally, you should be.
Yeah, and you know what? Tough start to the week in best bets. Last night, 2 out of 3. We're coming around just in time to get hot for some money on the weekend. Well, everybody, as always, thank you so much for joining us here on Pucks Across Borders. Don't forget, first round collectibles, promo code SportsAddict for 10% off. We will be back tomorrow. And yes, John is right. Be responsible when you're gambling tonight. Don't bet your rent unless it's a lock. And we will see you guys tomorrow.